Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, people, and welcome to the National League, everyone. Trent is officially gone from Liverpool. Fabrizio Romano tweeted, and Trent himself posted an emotional message for the Liverpool fans, of course, about his time at Liverpool, about him going to a new challenge to Real Madrid, to challenging himself and all the stuff. Chelsea winning yesterday, lavia masterclass, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer. They actually now in the leading the race for the Champions League spots ahead of Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. There, a brilliant performance by Cole Palmer. A lot of people are talking about him back to his best. And for some whatever reason, just Arsenal losing to Bournemouth have awakened again the Arteta out, win or leave against PSG. And instead of standing behind the team, and instead of thinking that Arsenal will go through, people are talking about Arteta out and the conversation again. Has he failed if he doesn't win against PSG and all this stuff? Should he go? Should he leave? And all this stuff. Has he failed the season? We'll talk about that as well. Rory couldn't make it as he's in Paris, so we just replaced him with Egal, of course, who is more than adequate replacement, of course. Here, this is the National League, people, so hit that like button if you are here, people. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and if you're watching this on the replay, make sure to hit that like button if you are here, of course, because it helps the channel, helps everything. Why are you sad, Egal? Just can I know?
What?
You're like, you're sitting there and you're like,
no, because
you're right.
To be happy about.
About to get knocked out tomorrow.
What's there to be happy about? I'm just focused on trying to win a game.
Yeah. Are you? Oh, you're in training with them.
Yeah, I'm just focused. I'm drilled right now.
Yeah.
I also, the last 48 hours, it's just been a bashing session. Right now, think about
I know
it. Everyone's already been getting on to Chelsea. Everyone's already been getting on to Man United, Tottenham, everybody else. I guess it's our turn now. They've waited all season to get onto Arsenal. So now they're taking their shots.
Just because you lost to Bournemouth, as it's the end, as you, if you won against Bournemouth, things will happen for you. Like,
means nothing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Means nothing. Like you think about the players, they're probably, I'm not saying like not arse, but they're like, we have a massive game on Tuesday against PSG. We need to obviously make sure that we're right for that. Don't want to get any injuries. Like, if they lost 5-0, it still wouldn't have made a difference. You know what I mean? It's just everything is all eyes on Paris on Tuesday.
I want to let's start with the Trent situation first. Trent leaving Liverpool, it doesn't change anything. A lot of people are kicking a fuss about it. They hoped he would stay. Of course, we were just talking about it on the football terrace. The outrage about Trent, all this stuff, and especially after Conor Bradley's performance yesterday, people hoped that he would stay. To be honest with you, there was other talks that I had for the title of the video. I'm not sure if you guys watched this. You know, actually, yesterday, all I can think of is that the rebuild for Liverpool is much harder because the bench is not good enough. The likes of Kwanzaa, the likes of Conor Bradley, the likes of Tsimikas, Endo, Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Darwin Núñez, these guys. And I had this discussion with Egal on another show that our Arsenal team need less players to have a complete team than Liverpool. Some people think yes, some people think no. Don't the game yesterday, because you're not going to tell me that Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott were out there to lose the game. They wanted to prove a point. They wanted to prove that we're worthy of staying. Kwanzaa as well. Don't we think that after the game yesterday, especially with Trent leaving, don't you think the game yesterday proved that Liverpool need a lot of players, especially a backup players? Because Liverpool were lucky with injuries, a little bit lucky with the main players not getting injured this season. Don't you think, Jamie, that you need a lot of like squad players to be, because if you want to go for the 4 competitions next season again, don't you think you need a lot of players?
Yeah, 100%. You need, I think we've probably seen it in terms of squad with the Champions League. I think we obviously had a really good start to the season, and then I think maybe just a little bit of rotation. In the Champions League, we looked a little bit tired in Paris, and I thought PSG were just very good, so we couldn't really contain them. And I think even like coming to the end of the season as well, like Gravenberch has looked a little bit tired. Like Robertson has looked a little bit tired. Like they haven't been. The points aren't that different, but in terms of like the level of performances, is probably not the same. So I definitely do agree. This summer is going to be a big rebuild with Liverpool. Like if you think about Trent and Robertson, who are kind of been staples in that team for like what 8 or 9 years, I think Robertson is going to need some competition or just a little bit of help. So if Kirkes comes in, Bradley is obviously talk about coming through at right back. But it's not even about replacing Trent at right back that I'm worried about. It's more his creativity that I think we're going to miss a lot of. Like him and Salah on that right side had a lot of good chemistry. And I think Bradley is just slightly different how he plays. He does a lot more inside runs. He's not as creative in the same way. And we're not going to find a direct replacement like that with for Trent. So we need to find different ways of doing it. So you're looking at like that creative spark. You're probably looking at a left back, maybe a cover for Gravenberch, probably looking at a striker. Obviously Kelleher is going to be going, so Marmadashvili is going to be coming in. That's going to be his first season. Alisson picks up a few injuries, so how is he going to fit in if he does have to step up? I definitely think Liverpool do have a lot more work to do than Arsenal in the transfer window. I would agree with that statement.
So I'm right to say that Arsenal need less players, and just people don't like because people didn't want to hear it from me that Liverpool need a lot of players more than Arsenal.
Yeah, we do. I think Arsenal, if you're probably thinking, I think Martinelli could definitely be upgraded. A striker is probably what they're looking at as well. But I think they just need someone to kind of tie them to get them over the line. And maybe if Partey obviously leaves, I think they probably need somewhere in there. I think Odegaard is someone they might be looking at as well. I don't think
Partey will leave. To be honest with you, Jamie, I don't think Partey will leave.
Yeah, I think, if he stays, but he's obviously been really good. I think they missed him against PSG, but I think defensively Arsenal are pretty solid. You know what I mean? The only worry I would be looking at is, I think I've seen a reliable Arsenal journalist talking about it, that Real Madrid have made Saliba a big target for them, which would be a worry. But if they keep him, I think they do have one of the best defense in the world. So I don't think that would be a worry. It's more just about getting 1 or 2 players to kind of get them to that next level.
I think for Arsenal, if Saliba leaves, that sends a message to the rest of the team that they aren't serious about keeping their players.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will leave this season. To be honest with you, I don't think he will leave this season at all. Like, I think he will stay at least one more season to give it a shot with the new incomings for Arsenal next season. I don't think he will leave. For Liverpool, Salah is staying.
Conversation, because it feels like manipulation from the Real Madrid side. The way that they put out stories like as if Arsenal has no say in the matter. The most recent report yesterday, Real Madrid decided that they want Saliba now more than ever, and it's like, what arrogance gives you? You talk like we're freaking Burnley, and you're coming to get our player.
Team that have got 15 Champions Leagues and you have none. That is how they speak.
The way they speak. But the way
they literally speak like this. This is how they speak.
What I would say
they're speaking is actually like disrespectful.
I don't think it's this. I think it's
Gal. They're in a position where they believe they can treat any team like that because of what they've achieved as a club.
They've done that. They've just done that to Liverpool
because we slapped them over 2 legs.
But they literally done that to Liverpool, who won the league. Jamie will tell you.
like Trent, the thing is, like, people are going to say about Trent, and the reason they're saying he's a snake is Real Madrid have been in his ear for 2 years, tell him to run down his contract, and if they don't get him on a free, they're not going to sign him. That's what people are saying. And I think Saliba's now he's 2 years left in his contract, it expires in 2027. So the thing is that they're probably in his ear saying, listen, if you sign a new contract, we're not going to pay 100 million for you to come to us. So don't sign a new contract. And they will act with that arrogance because they've done it with Mbappe, they've done it with David Alaba when he went, and then they were trying to do it with Alphonso Davies before he signed a contract. What they do is they say, run down your contract, you're going to get a massive sign-on on bonus, and then you'll come to one of the biggest clubs in the world. I think that's what is happening and how their transfer strategy has been implemented in recent seasons.
They wanted Trent in January, and they said, this is what we're going to offer. This is what we're willing to offer. It was 20 million pounds or something. Liverpool said no. Liverpool said no, and they said, okay, we'll just sign him when the contract is done. And this is how it works for Real Madrid. Dan is right. The thing about it, Dan has stated this plenty of times on the show. Dan said, if Real Madrid just come to Palmer and say, come play for us, like Palmer head can be turned, okay, he's going to leave. Like, it happens for Inter, for everyone. Egal, it's Real Madrid, my man. It's literally just Real Madrid come calling. You just have to admit that it is not as easy to keep your player if Real Madrid come calling. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah,
you have to admit it. To be
honest,
bro,
I've always said I feel like we're on board time with Saliba, but at the same time, I don't want Arsenal as a club. There's two factions. One, you could say it could turn into a Coutinho, but the moment I start seeing stuff like I've seen the last 24 or 48 hours is when I kind of know like there's more truth behind him potentially leaving this summer. Forget about next summer. Because when you have like Hand of Ozil, somebody who's been very close to the club, speaking about now it's up to the club to see what their ambition is, if they want to keep the player or not. And other people now coming out saying this could be a Coutinho situation. We sell him for 120 million and reinvest that into multiple players, or try to get players back from Real Madrid in Rodrigo or Tchouaméni. And this is when you know it's like there's more truth behind it. When you have prominent, positive fans who have all been saying he's not going nowhere, starting to actually put out there, making fans more comfortable with the idea that Saliba could leave. And yeah, I do agree. I think Saliba should be staying for another year at least minimum. But Andre Berta made a living off of selling players at their peak and flipping them and going and buying new players. I don't know. Would he come in and have a different idea on Saliba rather than the people in charge?
Yeah, but Saliba is arguably one of the best pieces at Arsenal. He can't just let him go.
No, but Andre Berta's whole career at Atletico Madrid has been selling guys like Griezmann when they're high and then going and bringing in other pieces. So would he do that?
But I don't think he should sell Saliba now. But I don't think he should sell Saliba at the current moment, to be honest with you. That would be a massive mistake. To be honest with you.
But if Real Madrid offer us 120, 150, maybe
you shouldn't sell him, in my opinion. You shouldn't, because you're not going to get how much Huijsen? How much is Huijsen then?
50
when
million.
the club is
40, 50.
Yeah, but so to be honest with you, you're going to spend half of the money you're going to get for Saliba on one centre back. That is not going to be good enough as Saliba, to be honest. I don't think you should do that.
It's up to the club. We have to fight to keep our players and continue to strengthen the team. That's my goal, and I hope that's the goal of the club. But if Andre Berta comes in with a different mindset and says, you know what, if Real Madrid put 150 million on the table or 120 million on the table, we can't turn that down, then that's a different
We'll come back to ours. Go ahead.
The one thing I would say on that as well is that I know you're saying about Coutinho, but like Liverpool let Coutinho go, but they brought in two world-class players in Van Dijk and Alisson. So it's a case of, selling the money, but like you have to get those transfers, whoever you bring in, like 100% right, because otherwise it's just you're selling a world-class player, and then if you don't bring in world-class players, it's just going to knock you backwards. So that's like the worry.
I want to take it back to Trent before we go to Arsenal and Chelsea. Dan, do you think Trent has made the right decision now to leave Liverpool winning the title, renewing Salah and Van Dijk, with the rebuild that Arne Slot keeps banging on about every single press conference, to go to a Real Madrid team that might get a new manager? That manager might be Alonso. Will Alonso be able to handle Mbappe and Vinny and these players? Do you think he made the right decision?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not in terms of how he's left without getting any money. But I think for his career and what he personally might want to achieve, he's won everything there is to win at Liverpool. He didn't ever cost Liverpool anything, so it's not like they've lost money on him, and apart from wages. I think going to Real Madrid at 26 is like, you can't hold any player back from that opportunity, to be honest. And it's
but
not
don't
like
you
he
see
hasn't done
Liverpool?
it.
Did you see Liverpool trajectory versus Real Madrid trajectory?
I mean, I don't think it really matters in terms of I think for Trent, it's in terms of what he can achieve as a player. I mean, he's spoken before, hasn't he, about the Ballon d'Or and potentially that being his dream that he'd want to win in football. So I think maybe that opens the door for him. I think the English press get on his back. I think a guy of his ability is nowhere near the amount of appearances he should have had for England. I think realistically, this is the best move for him going forward in his career, to sort of see the recognition he believes he deserves to get.
Can I tell you honestly, guys? I actually don't think, okay, don't get my words wrong, right? I'm not saying that Liverpool are as big as Real Madrid, but Liverpool have won 6 Champions Leagues, if I'm not mistaken. They have won 20 league title. I'm not saying that Liverpool are as big as Real Madrid. But if you look at the player and the money that Liverpool could have offered Trent, so money-wise, we're not talking about the money here. We're talking about a club versus club in terms of like, if he goes to Real Madrid, I think the pressure will be higher on him. I think the fact that Liverpool have just won the title and Real Madrid are going to go trophyless this season. Ancelotti is about to go. They have a lot of ego problems in the team based on reports. I'm not talking about egos. Vinny Jr. we keep talking about him leaving to Saudi Arabia because of the stuff that is happening in Spain. Barcelona, with the likes of Lamine Yamal, Pedri, De Jong, Rafinha, they're going to get a striker. I actually think, looking at the clubs, I would rather be at Liverpool than Real Madrid. And I'm not saying that Real Madrid are smaller than Liverpool, but Liverpool are more in the current moment. Yes, they need a rebuild, and yes, they need a lot of players. So are Real Madrid, by the way. Militao is injured. Modric is going to go. They need a midfielder. They need a left back, right? There is talks about Rodrigo leaving. They need a number 10 because Brahim Diaz is not there. I think Liverpool at the current moment, if I'm looking at the player, are maybe at the current moment are looking at the trajectory are better than Real Madrid, especially with Barcelona can dominate. No? You don't think so?
No. Real Madrid just have better players to their disposal. Liverpool just don't have as much quality across the team on their bench. And even just the amount of pull that Liverpool have compared to Real Madrid is different. Real Madrid can go and just be like, you know what, handpick players from other teams, and they guarantee coming to the team in a couple of years or two. Where Liverpool, they struggle.
Can we go back to the players, Egal?
Liverpool struggle.
Can we go back to the players?
Okay, outside of Mo Salah,
Van Dijk, Alisson, Trent if he stays.
You can make the case that
McAllister, Modric is leaving. No, but to be honest with you, the midfield of Real Madrid is Valverde is good and he runs around. I've watched him against Arsenal, to be honest with you. Like, I genuinely believe that Salah, no one at Real Madrid is Salah, not even Mbappe and Vinny Jr. Also, the work rate.
They're all in the same category.
They are, but the work rate, the way they, and also you have to remember there is going to be a Xabi Alonso. And Terry was speaking about
hasn't been working all season.
Salah.
They've asked Salah not to do any defensive work all season.
That's what they said. But I saw Salah yesterday in a dead rubber game trying to defend to cover for corner penalty going up.
Okay,
I saw Salah yesterday going to be a right back yesterday.
Bro, to say Liverpool have a higher trajectory than Real Madrid, in my opinion, is crazy. Simply put, because of the players that Real Madrid have to their disposal. Now, if you say Liverpool have a better chance of winning the Premier League than Real Madrid do winning the La Liga, that's a different conversation. Even then, I still think.
What about the Champions League?
Even then, I still think Real Madrid. Also, Champions League, still think Real Madrid. Real Madrid this season, their issue has not been, personnel, in my opinion. The issue has been coaching. Coaching has been the main issue at Real Madrid. Real Madrid have not been coached as a proper team. They've not been drilled as a proper team. They've not worked as a unit. Where Liverpool, although they don't have the same level of quality, they've been more drilled better. They've been coached better this season. and that's what makes the two teams look different.
Yeah.
I still believe Real Madrid have better players. I still believe Real Madrid have a better situation with the youth and the players that they have in the attacking areas, some of the midfielders that they have to their quality. And don't forget, not only are they bringing in Trent, they're going to be bringing in other defenders. They already have Courtois, who's.
But you're ignoring that Liverpool will be bringing people as well.
I know, but Liverpool are not going to be attracting the same level of quality that Real Madrid are attracting.
Can I just tell you a fact today? Kirikes and Hoysim both are linked to Liverpool and Real Madrid. Same caliber of player.
William Saliba and Trent are linked to Real Madrid. It's different levels, bro.
No, Trent left already, but you have to exclude Trent because the whole point is that should Trent have left Liverpool to go to them? That is the whole point.
I think Trent has picked the right decision, and a Liverpool fan once said to Zubimendi, "You chose loyalty over the right move for your career. Now you, instead of becoming a club legend at 2 clubs, you chose to stay at 1, and you don't know what you're going to do for your next career move." I think Trent made the right move. He now can go and become a legend at 2 clubs. He's done everything he needs to do in the Premier League, won every single award, some of them multiple times, and now he can do the same thing at Real Madrid.
I don't think he will be a superstar in Real Madrid as much as Liverpool. He's going to be one of the guys.
There's 2 things though, Lammo. You're saying about like Madrid's trajectory and Liverpool's trajectory. I do think Liverpool are in a good place. I think they're hopefully going to have money to spend this summer, and if they can replace Trent's creativity, like we already talked about earlier on, everything else. But the thing is with Madrid is, you're saying this is like an off season for them. They still are currently the Champions League holders. I know they're obviously knocked out, but like they'll always be competing for La Liga. The better Barca get, the better Madrid get. They're constantly going at each other to try and get better. So Madrid don't satisfy with becoming second. They will continue to buy players until they get it right. With Madrid and with Trent leaving to go to Madrid, he said it himself. It was a case of Liverpool couldn't offer him something, or Madrid offered him something Liverpool couldn't, and that was a new experience. That's what he wants. He wants to go over, test himself in a new league. He's done everything at Liverpool. He's won every single trophy you can imagine, and whether people like that or not, that he's obviously won that, and Liverpool have hopefully more success going forward, and he's not going to be a part of that. That's up to them. That's their choice. People can call a mistake, or people can be happy, or can be not really too bothered about it. It doesn't really matter. But from Trent's perspective, he just wanted a new challenge, and that is something that Liverpool couldn't offer.
I accept that he wanted a new challenge. That is people. We got like about 700 people in the house. Let's hit that like button. Let's get to 300 likes. Hit that like button, people. And the people that are asking about Tom just told me that he's with family and he won't be able to make it home on time, so he can't make it. But listen, it is what it is. Trent is gone. We'll see if Liverpool can actually replace the guy next season. We'll see how it goes, to be honest. And people, the funniest thing is that I think this is the funniest comment I've seen when I've been called a Liverpool hater for the last like a month or something. So big up for the chat. About Chelsea, before we go to Arsenal, Dan, you were at the game yesterday.
Yeah.
How was Cole Palmer? How was Lavia? How was Madueke? Still Madueke. How was Madueke yesterday?
Yeah, Madueke out on the left is a player transformed, really. I think he's catching out fullbacks in terms of which way he can go, and I think he's definitely become a bit more of a handful out there. I think Lavia is absolutely instrumental to Maresca's system working and getting results. And I think Cole Palmer's been allowed a little bit more freedom in terms of where he can go on the pitch. And I think we're seeing how helpful it is to him to go out to that natural sort of right-hand sort of pocket where he feels better, pick up the ball and try and make something happen. Obviously, he got a late penalty as well, which is fantastic for him confidence-wise. But I think Chelsea took advantage of a Liverpool team that were off it, that had already won the league, had nothing really to play for. But I think it can also be true that Chelsea look a lot better than what they've done in a couple of their more recent performances, even though they've won.
Lavia.
Yeah, I just think Chelsea have been a little bit ponderous, even though they've got results. I feel like Chelsea were at it and sharper yesterday against Liverpool than they were in some of their other games.
They've won 3 in a row, though. It's a big deal for you. Like, I think you play Newcastle next, then Man United, then Nottingham Forest. I think that you will make Champions League football. Looking at the game yesterday, I think you can get a draw against Newcastle. You're going to win against Man United. And I have just a feeling that you're going to go to the Nottingham Forest ground and win in the last game. For some whatever reason, I have that feeling. right? And you're going to make the last
Newcastle game's absolutely massive, isn't it? Like the Newcastle game is huge. Our record at St James's Park isn't great. I don't think many teams have a fantastic record at St James's Park. It's such a tough place to go. It's almost like a final for both teams, because I think whoever wins that pretty much guarantees themselves Champions League football because of the momentum they'll get off the back of that result.
Yeah, I think Forest just need to stay in the race to get it to the last day of the season when they get used at their ground. That's all they have to do. Like, be there with a chance, whether it's 2 points or like they need like a win.
They've got the running to do so, haven't they? Like the teams they play, although I think they're kind of tricky fixtures. Like Brentford, I wasn't sure whether they'd be on holiday or not, but they posed a threat in the end and end up losing that one. But
they're going to play Crystal Palace today. I think you will know that Crystal Palace at home
ran out
are
of
not an
steam
easy
a
team
little
to
bit
play.
though. They ran out of steam a little bit. I think Staffy might have mentioned it before. Maybe it was you, Dan, where we were talking about like being over reliant on, say, Chris Wood for goals, and they're not really getting goals from anywhere else. And I think that's coming back to bite them now. Chris Wood, they've got like their team has had an unbelievable season, but similar to what you were saying about Liverpool, where like they're really good at the start of the season, but you don't rotate the team too much. It was obviously a little bit different because they didn't have any other big competitions in like Europe or anything, but they've run out of steam coming to it now. And I think Chelsea are just showing a little bit more, I wouldn't say experience because they haven't been in and out, but like they are that club that like knows how to get into the Champions League. And I think that's coming through a little bit now, but it will be tight. I think it probably will go down to the last game of the season. I think Forest might have to win that day though.
Can I also say the reason why I feel like Forest are doing the way that they've done, let's be honest, the way people view you slightly changes later in the season, especially when you're fighting for something. So when they're going up against Aston Villa, going for top 4, they respected Aston Villa too much. Nottingham Forest, the game versus Everton, they couldn't break them down. And then the game recently versus Brentford, not only could they not break them down, they couldn't keep them out the goal. So everything seems to be going wrong for Nottingham Forest right now. It's not just offensively, it's also defensively too. And it comes down to the manager and his tactics. What is he doing different from what he was doing earlier in the season?
Do you think that they're showing the real level now? Do you think that they're showing the real level of Nottingham Forest?
I think they're showing fear. I don't think they're as brave as they were before. I think before they would counterattack, would throw men forward, try to go for the game, try to win the game convincingly. Since that game versus Aston Villa, I've seen a more fearful, more conservative team. And maybe they had their eyes set on the FA Cup. Maybe they changed their perspective of what they were looking at. Maybe they thought they were so comfortable in the Champions League spots that they weren't going to lose it. But you can see a drop in form based on those multiple factors. And the Champions League is a similar situation happened to Leicester a couple of years ago, West Ham. You can be in those spots all season, but come the business end of the season, if you're not mentally ready to go through the struggle and continue to play at the same level.
Do you think Chelsea are more ready to make Champions League football than Nottingham Forest this next season?
100%. Nottingham Forest this season, they've had a great year. Alanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood playing amazing. Their defense looks solid, but really and truly, they don't have when it comes down to in the small margins, they don't have what it takes to break down low blocks. They face teams that are much more open, and now that they're facing teams that are more compact defensively and forcing them to play against a low block more often, like the Brentfords, like the Evertons, they're struggling to break them down. Teams respect you more once you're in these positions later in the season, and that is one of the main factors in why they're struggling, because now teams are playing them with more caution than the opened up Wolves, for example, or opened up West Ham earlier in the season. Yeah. Those guys, they're not playing like that against them. They're treating them the same way they treat a Man City, Chelsea late in the season, with more respect, because they know their game means something.
Also, the players, with all due respect, like Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Palmer, Neto, Madueke, these guys are more like ready for Champions League football than Morgan Gibbs-White, Murillo, Milinkovic. With all due respect, Chris Wood, Ilanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi, I actually think that Chelsea are more ready. And we know that if Chelsea get Champions League, they will get good signings in to try to actually maybe not win it, but compete and have a better season. I think it's very important for Chelsea to make Champions League football. I believe it's the Newcastle game. It won't matter, to be honest with you guys, even if they lose. What matters is going to be the Man United game and the Forest game. Even if they lose against Newcastle, it doesn't matter, because I think it's between Newcastle, Nottingham Forest and Chelsea. And I still believe that Chelsea are a better team than much better team than Nottingham Forest. Yes, Maresca has not been great for the last 4 months or 3 months. Still, we watched yesterday.
Just half the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the manager. But that doesn't that tell you that how good the players are?
No, it does, but it doesn't. Like, you need to remember, like we were only talking about it 2 weeks ago how poor Chelsea had been. You know what I mean? Like, Palmer hadn't scored in 3 months and stuff. And I don't think a run of 3 results is good. It's coming at a good time. But like, if Liverpool had to go out and say they were going for the league and they had to play Chelsea again tomorrow, like, that's a completely different team that shows. And I don't think that Chelsea team is good enough to beat the Liverpool team when they're on their A game. I think I seen a stat something as well. Liverpool hadn't lost in Stamford Bridge in like 7 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
that was Liverpool. That was Chelsea's first big win against a Big Six side.
Yeah, like this season
in a long time. Like, when have you been a Big Six side recently?
Spurs.
We don't count Spurs.
No, Spurs are in the Big Six.
You said top six.
Okay, let me say like
five.
The teams that you review, the teams
No, Egal. Chelsea's record.
They beat Man United last season.
The Big Six or the top six.
Your record against Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool recently has been
so top three then.
Yeah, but that's two teams ago. Your statement was the top six.
Okay,
the stat
I'm rephrasing it because
the stat you're looking for is away games for Chelsea. We haven't beaten a team away from home, bar Tottenham, in a long time.
When was the last time you beat Liverpool at Stamford Bridge?
Well, Jamie said, didn't he? Like seven
years ago.
I'm trying to think. When was the last time you beat Arsenal at Stamford Bridge?
I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't even remember. I think it was Antonio Conte was there, I think.
Yeah, so maybe longer. So maybe like 2017, 18. But even that season, we had a big loss to Arsenal. I can't remember whether that was at Emirates.
So,
but we know Chelsea are bad.
Wise,
I mean, we know.
I do think this is a massive morale boost for Chelsea, but I don't think if Liverpool were putting out their best team and they're still challenging for the league, that they would have lost this game. I think the reality is they were on the beach. They got their guard of honor. You guys got your win. And it's a big morale boost for your players at Chelsea. But I've seen this story at Arsenal before also. We
but you can't compare the two clubs because
no. I'm just saying the situation. I'm comparing the situation. I'm saying the situation is very simple to understand. You needed the game more. They've already won the league. They rotated the side very, very much. You had one of your best, strongest teams out there I've seen in a long time. And Lavia is a massive game changer. And we're going to talk about him maybe in a second. But I don't think you can take too much.
Can I just ask you a question as well? Because the way you're
too much away from this to say
the way you're talking is like you're a team that have contested the title this season.
No, I'm not.
You're only 4 points ahead of Chelsea, who have been absolutely dire.
I'm not trying to put down Chelsea at all. I'm just simply saying I don't think this game is a barometer where you can test your levels against Liverpool properly because
no one said that. No one has said that point at all. The first point that was made around this game regarding Liverpool was the fact that they'd rotated and were definitely not at full strength. They rotated their whole midfield, and I think Jamie's right that had that been the game that was going to win Liverpool the league and it was delayed by a week, that would have been a completely different Liverpool side that turn up. They would have been confident with their record at Stamford Bridge, and we've seen that Liverpool have posed a threat to this Chelsea team for years. Whether Chelsea have been winning or Liverpool have been winning, this Liverpool team have definitely got the edge over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge recently or in draws. So I think you're trying to make a conversation that's not really there. It's a big win for Chelsea at this moment in time that gives them momentum. Yes, it's almost kind of unfair on the top 4 or 5 race that the fact that Chelsea got Liverpool on their off day. But other than that, it's still incredibly close.
To be fair to Chelsea as well, like I think Slot said it at the first half of the season. He said that Chelsea game was probably one of the toughest games that they haven't given them. I think the thing is with Chelsea right now is they do have good quality players, and the probably squad is better than Forest at this moment in time. It's just the consistency that they haven't been able to find that maybe Forest have had for majority of the season. But yeah, if it was a different time and maybe it was unfair on Forest that they had to play Liverpool when they were going for the league and Chelsea didn't, but that's just the way the fixtures line up sometimes. You know what I mean? Over the course of the season, it is fair. Whoever gets, like, say, the league or top 5 or Europa League, it does even out depending on who you're playing.
Also, in yesterday's game as well, Jamie, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I felt like once Slot sort of made the changes to bring on players like Sobolozai and a couple of other players, they really did get back into the game. I felt like Van Dijk scored, and I was sort of thinking, you know, if they go and nick a draw here in 25 minutes of like decent play, it wouldn't surprise me, because I think then you saw the quality levels quickly adjust. I don't know what you thought.
No, yeah, I agree. I think like McAllister and Szoboszlai, they obviously make such a big impact. I think going forward, and I think this is one of the areas that like Liverpool probably have realised that they need to improve on, is just like just creating chances in the second half of the season has been a little bit frustrating. I think Salah up until the Spurs game hadn't had a goal contribution in 6 games, so that's one goal contribution in 8 games. You know what I mean? So there has been maybe a little bit of a drop off, but I think the quality is still there, and I think there was an improvement. But I think if they were going for the league in that instance, even in as well, I think they might have pushed on and got a draw. But I just think they weren't pushing themselves to do anything.
But can I say something to counter that? The first game from Liverpool and Chelsea is the game that Arne Slot said it was his toughest team that pushed him around. Chelsea players are not weak. The problem is Enzo Maresca still haven't had his stamp on the team fully 100%. We see when Lavia plays, his plan works the majority of the time. When Lavia's out there, his plan don't work because the Malo Gustos and Reece James inverting is not the same as having Caicedo, for example, playing at right back, who had a brilliant game yesterday. And I think that is why we look at Chelsea differently throughout the games when Lavia plays or not. He's still trying to find his best wingers combination, by the way, as Dan said. Yesterday, Madueke on the left, Neto on the right worked so much better than having Madueke on the right and Neto on the left or Sancho on the left and this guy on the right side. He is trying to find his feet with this team still. And it worked yesterday. And yes, Liverpool didn't have a greatest game yesterday, but you can't tell me that the first goal that Chelsea scored yesterday is not off the training ground. It was clear Enzo later on across the 18. It was because they tried to do it like a couple of times, right? My problem with Enzo Maresca still is he doesn't set up the team defensively very, very well, but it's getting better. You can tell against Fulham, against Everton, it is getting better for Chelsea. I'm not sure if he's the right guy to lead Chelsea next season. I still think that even if there is a better option out there in the market, by the way, I say that for Inter, for Arsenal, for everyone. If Enzo Maresca gets Champions League football and there is a better option for Chelsea, a better manager that is out there in the market that is available and willing to take the job, you should go and do it. I said that about a lot of things because Maresca has not been here for like 3-4 years. He hasn't built anything yet for you to say, no, he's built this. He hasn't. It's not his team, basically, to be honest. Maresca is still young, doesn't have a lot of experience. He's learning on the job. We all know this, as Arteta learned on the job. And I think I'm watching the game yesterday. From what I watched, Chelsea needs some players. You need a goalkeeper for sure. They need a right back.
Mo, just on that as well. Do you know what you're saying there about like he's a young player or a young manager and he doesn't really know his players? They would have known all that when they brought him in. Do you know what I mean? They knew he was a young manager.
But Stan will talk about the board. You're gonna start the board conversation.
Yeah. No, but like that is like the board knew that what they were bringing in, and I think they're happy with Maresca. If they get like they would have said at the start of the year, they would have been like, we want Champions League, and that would be like the main objective. If like we can get Champions League, that's good. So if he comes in and does that with the way that they want to play football, then in their eyes, they're going to see it as a success. And they're going to go to the Club World Cup. They're going to get Champions League, so they're going to have revenue coming in that they maybe go and back him, and he can get more of his players in. And they'll be like, we've done everything that we've set out to do, so like, why wouldn't we keep him? You know
I don't think Maresca has any players like that word. His players doesn't exist at Chelsea at the current moment.
You know the biggest boost for Chelsea. The biggest boost for Chelsea is Lavia being fit. When Lavia is fit, I see the best from Chelsea, and that's because Lavia allows him to do so much more. Like he allows Enzo to get more forward. He allows Caicedo to just do what he needs to do and has another person there that can help him in the defensive end. It allows your whole attack to just be more free. And the 2 times you've played Liverpool, no coincidence, Lavia has been available, if I'm not mistaken. He played the first game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, right? And
yeah, 60 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, so whenever I watch Chelsea, I feel like he's the person who changes their games the most because he just gives them so much more freedom. If they had Romeo Lavia fit for a majority of the season, I have no doubt in my mind that Chelsea would be higher up the table or maybe still challenging, as their issues defensively, creatively, a lot of them get solved with that metronome in the midfield with Romeo Lavia.
Yeah, let me do the super chat because I want to ask a question about it. Before Everton, Fulham, Pool, this show said we wouldn't get points. Now we have the changing of narrative is something else. Stop changing narrative. But we have to change the narrative.
When you do something, you have to get credit.
But we have to change the narrative, DJ. It's very simple.
You have to, DJ, you have to look at the form that Chelsea had going into those games, and it was incredibly bad. And on the form guide, we were sitting around 14th, 15th. We'd conceded a lot of goals. Goal difference wasn't very good. We had a striker that was completely out of form. Cole Palmer hadn't scored in a long time. We had a goalkeeper consistently causing errors. And the manager was saying things that were completely deflating. The fans are completely turned sort of against him. And somewhere, completely out of nowhere, really, they, as a group, as a manager and staff and players, they found a way to sort of come together and sort of elevate themselves in moments where they've needed to. And a couple of players have stepped up and got points or just got a goal that's got us a win. And I think that sort of edged them on a little bit. They're going to go into a final of a European Cup. And I think then they've got this massive result against Liverpool. I think sometimes you just put some results together, no matter how. And I think Maresca's kind of done that and focused on getting results rather than being completely and utterly devoted to getting this system absolutely perfect. And I think we've said that this season, that he had such a focus around his system. But in recent games, he's gone for the result because he's viewed that as being the most important thing. And I think we saw against Liverpool yesterday. We saw that that was a Chelsea team that were not playing in the same way that they've played in a number of games this season, and we ended up winning 3-1.
You know what? Chelsea were 13th, 0 goal difference from game week 15 to game week 32 before you face Fulham.
Exactly.
13th.
Everything I said is true, isn't it? We were rightly questioning Chelsea's form going into that incredibly tough period. I think everyone will say the fact that we've got 3 games to go now in the season, and Maresca's leveled his points tally to Poch with 3 games to go suggests that, you know, he's done a good job to do that from where he was from Christmas to like a month ago.
Yeah.
Can I tell you another stat? For the people that say that Arsenal during that period are second in the form table, Nottingham Forest are fourth. Sorry, Newcastle second, Arsenal third, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Man City. Basically, 5 teams out of the team that are competing for the top 5, right? Along with Chelsea, are up there in the top 7. Chelsea are the only one that is 13. So it was right for us to not expect Chelsea to win all 3 games.
And the teams that Chelsea were playing, by the way, Fulham had already beaten Chelsea this season. Everton had drawn against Chelsea already this season, and Ipswich had beaten Chelsea this season. So they were teams that Chelsea had already got questionable results against. And it was going to be a good test for Chelsea to see whether or not they could step up and get results in games that they hadn't done already this season. I don't think anyone was wrong to question Chelsea. And I think we said that if Maresca manages to get Chelsea into the Champions League or get them close and achieve the points tally that Poch did and more, he would have done a really good job over the last month and a half, 2 months.
You know what? I would rather, okay, so to be honest with you, to analyze it, I would rather Maresca have had a steady being 6th, 5th, 4th, 7th, and then make it to Champions League, than being second, have a massive dip, and then stumble, and then get the top 5 at the end of the season. Because that shows you that the team is stable. At the current moment, you can't analyze this Chelsea team. Basically, Egal just said, it's with or without Lavia. We are not going to analyze football teams based on one player. Lavia's not Mohamed Salah or Van Dijk. Like, unless you think that Lavia's that.
On Egal's point, I do think there is a huge difference between what Chelsea look like in this system with and without Lavia. I really think this system is pretty much make or break with a player like him in the side or not. I think it's that important.
I think as well,
without him doesn't seem to get results.
Yeah, I think I'd rather the other way though, Mo. I'd rather, like, say for half a season be up near the top and then have a little bit of a drop, because what that means is that, like, for half a season you can be competitive. It's about finding that consistency. Or if you're constantly 6 and 7, your mentality is like, that's our level. Whereas if they know that they can be at that, like, they could have been top at Christmas if they had to beat Everton. And I think that would maybe give them a little bit more confidence. I just think after that, then maybe Palmer obviously dropped off. I think obviously Lavia had a really big injury as well. And I think that's obviously what affected him. Jackson got injured too. Do you know what I mean? So
do any of you see concern in the fact that this is almost a mirror image of Maresca's last season at Leicester? The fact that they dropped that 18-point lead and then they recovered and still won the league. It's almost like he's done a very similar sort of pattern.
And
at
that is
Chelsea.
the question. Is Maresca okay? Because let me ask the question first. Then you make Champions League this season, right? You win the Conference League. You are in the Champions League next season. What should be the targets next season?
To retain Champions League football and to win a domestic trophy in England and probably get out of the league stage in the Champions League. I would think that
You don't
be,
think challenge for the title?
I just don't see that being possible under Enzo Maresca.
Exactly my point. Okay, I want you to remove Enzo Maresca from the equation, right? And I want you to look at Chelsea as football club as players and as a club.
Yeah.
You made Champions League this season. As a fan, what should fans expect?
They're
Remove
realistic
Enzo Maresca
targets, by the way. I think they're realistic. I said before this season that Chelsea should try and win a domestic trophy, get to the final of the Conference League, and get Champions League football fourth or fifth. That's what I said. It looks like we're on course to do that. So I set up realistic targets that I think are possibly going to be achieved by the club. I don't go, oh, we'll win the Prem. And we're not going to. Because for Chelsea to go and win the Premier League, they'll need to add experience. They'll probably need a different manager. And they'll probably need to spend another 300 to 500 million.
500 million.
I'm not saying Chelsea are going to win the league.
I think that's half a transfer window for Chelsea.
I'm not saying Chelsea are going to win the league next year, but I feel like there's small margins between a lot of the teams that are trying to challenge or trying to get into it. So right now, between you, Nottingham Forest, and all these other teams, you could easily be cream of the crop of those guys next year if you go and sign a couple players. And then if you go and you have some of your players this season that were injured, like Romeo Lavia, fit for the majority of the season, you have the best of Cole Palmer from like last year. There's nothing to say that Chelsea can't find themselves in like a 22-23 Arsenal's kind of situation where they're a year too soon, they're in a title race and maybe drop off later in the season. I don't think Chelsea are that bad of a team right now to say that they need 7 or 8 signings, but because they need key starters like a center back, like a goalkeeper, that is the main reason why.
Okay, all right, hear me out on this. But people are going crazy about suggesting that the numbers between 300 and 500 million. If Chelsea go and sign a top class goalie, we're looking at around 40 to 50 million. Probably Chelsea will end up paying for a
60 million.
Keeper. Yeah, I think that's fair. If Chelsea go and sign a top centre back, you're looking at between 60 and 80, roughly, maybe even higher. If they go to get Dean Howson, I don't believe that's a player, by the way, that is definitely good enough for Chelsea to go and win the league. I'm talking about the level above that. If Chelsea go and pay the money there, that's another huge amount of money. If they then go and buy a striker and a winger, I reckon that's 100 million on a striker and probably not far off on a winger. Like the money that's going to have to be spent will probably not be far off 300 million, 400 million.
Sounds about right.
I think it does. So I can't see why people in the
I disagree with you a little bit. Eucharist is 60 million. You can get a Semenyo for 50, 60 million, for example. Or you can get a Nico Williams for 50 million.
Probably closer to 200 than 400, let's be honest.
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's discuss it then.
I don't know if that would be enough.
Let's do the math. Eucharist, you don't have to go and get Isak.
Gyökeres probably won't be coming to Chelsea.
So there is no other striker that you can get because it's only the guy that is more expensive. Osimhen is 50. Osimhen.
Yeah, okay, but for example, say someone that takes you over the line is someone like Isak, right? He's going to cost you 100 million.
No, that's 150 million. Well, you're out of like
million. There we go.
How does Isak is going to Chelsea?
On a player that makes that. That's the type of player that can make the jump where Chelsea will finish to winning the league. I don't think
this is where we disagree.
This is where we disagree.
I think
I'd say Newcastle are probably closer to winning the Premier League than Chelsea.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jamie. I don't
really.
Think, yeah,
really.
Like, if you think about Newcastle, like Newcastle's team, like probably one of the best midfielders in the league. They have a striker. Anthony Gordon is one of the best left wingers. Pope is a decent keeper. He's definitely better than all the ones that Chelsea have. I think Livermento's a really good right back. Lewis Hall, he'll be back next season. Botman, who's had a lot of injuries,
decent numbers.
I think the one thing
there's a big issue that you're not speaking about when it comes to Newcastle. They go through bad form throughout the season.
Is that on their manager? Is that on Eddie Howe? Really, if you just swap a manager,
no, because it's the size of the club. Also, we're focused more on Chelsea's negatives and positives. When Newcastle are going through the negatives, and people were talking about Eddie Howe might need to be sacked earlier in the season. Let's be honest. If that's one of the traditional big six, excluding Tottenham, there's going to be more pressure on that manager. There was a 2-month span where they won 1 game, bro. So
But-
I'm not really focusing too much on Newcastle right now.
I think,
although-
Egal, I think a lot of that comes down to potentially not having, a world-class manager. If Newcastle were to, go and get Inzaghi or something, I'm sorry to say his name, Mo, but, if they went and got him, I think suddenly everyone sort of changes the conversation around Newcastle. Or if
No,
they
What
go
about
and
Chelsea?
got
If they go and get
They're not
Inzaghi?
ready.
Hold
They're not
on.
ready to play.
What if Chelsea go and get Inzaghi then?
Yeah, probably changes the
second.
question, doesn't it?
I wanna
say
Probably-
this.
probably
Okay.
start to see
Newcastle
that
are
manager
not
is
ready
good
to
enough
play.
for Chelsea to do more than what they've done.
Newcastle
okay.
are not ready to play every other game, because when we seen them in December to January, they lost after loss after loss. One
Yeah,
win
but is
here.
that because the
loss
manager
after
doesn't
loss
know
after
how?
loss.
Because the manager's
And-
not been in that situation enough. Is it? He doesn't know how to prepare.
He was
that?
in the Champions League with them last year.
Yeah,
My
because
point
that was his
exactly.
first time ever understanding that. So
They
maybe
haven't
he
signed
needs
one
to-
of them in three transfer windows as well.
Yeah.
They've been struggling with financial fair play. So I think they need a little bit more additions in terms of squad, and they need to retain their best players in Bruno and Isak. But similar to what we're saying about
And
Chelsea,
Tonali.
and it's not like I'm not saying there's a huge gap between the two of them. Because I think people in the chat are saying that we're talking rubbish about Chelsea like not being competitive. The thing is that I think as well, what we probably take into account is mentality, like what we're saying about Eddie Howe and Newcastle. Their mentality wouldn't be to win a Premier League, whereas Chelsea, the size of the club that they are, that would be the eventual step. I think Newcastle are maybe on that trajectory, but like that's something that they're maybe a bit further away. I just think their team is a little bit more complete than Chelsea's is right now, and Chelsea need one or two more signings to get that right. But if they get that right, like say if they were to sign Isak and a keeper and a midfielder, I think mentally wise, they would be in a better position to go on and win the league. I just think right now Newcastle are a little bit ahead.
I think because it's Newcastle, they're gonna get painted with a little bit of a better brush, because we don't focus on them as much as we focus on some of the other clubs, and you don't see their negatives or lows as much as we see the lows of.
But we're
Chelsea.
saying, Egal, that we don't believe that they're playing. Their players are the reason for that period of results. A lot of it probably falls on not having a manager that is renowned for being able to set up his team and win on a more consistent basis than Eddie Howe. I mean, if you look at Eddie Howe's record, it's not exactly up there with the very best. His best achievement is winning that League Cup. I mean, there are managers out there that are consistently winning way more than that with squads lesser or of the similar amount of ability as Newcastle's.
Facts.
But I think that Newcastle have something that Chelsea don't have this season, but they had it last season. I think Newcastle have X factors, right, in the striker, which is a rare thing to find in the market at the current moment. A striker that will lead the line. Chelsea don't have that. Chelsea are still looking, and if Chelsea don't get Eucharist, if they don't go and get Isak, and if they get Liam Delap, that is not a player that you can rely on to be
Chelsea
like an
have Cole
Isak
Palmer,
or
though.
Eucharist.
That's what I mean. I don't think
Exactly that, Egal. So can
it's
Cole
enough.
Palmer? It's a big if. If Cole Palmer can go back to the form of last season, but Isak, we have seen it this season that he is in the form. Also, I'm going to say players like Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes is someone, Tonali. Chelsea have Enzo Fernandez, Chelsea have Caicedo, Chelsea have Lavia, Chelsea have Palmer. But at the end, we know that a striker is a rare thing in the market. There are a lot of midfielders. I just named 5, right? Along with, you can say, McAllister. There are a lot of midfielders out there that you can get, and they will Chouameni, Camavinga, Barella, Musiala, you know what I mean? They can raise your team. How many strikers out there that Chelsea can get and say, okay, that is a game changer up there? Not a lot.
And how much will they cost, Mo?
Ekitike, Sesko,
Yeah, but
Gyökeres.
Ekitike is a risk, isn't he? Because although he's had a good season, he's not exactly a guarantee that not that any
He's
player
not
is.
ready. He's not
Huh?
guaranteed ready to come in and
I mean,
be.
again, he would potentially cost upwards of 60 million. I honestly believe that the type of player Chelsea need right now to make the jump to go and win the Premier League is going to cost a substantial amount in terms of a number 9. They're going to be.
But that's why I think Osimhen
Uh,
is a key signing for Chelsea, to be honest. I think Chelsea should go all out to sign Victor Osimhen.
I don't
this
think
summer.
Chelsea are going to be willing to pay his wages.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the issue, Egal, isn't
And
it?
that is
Chelsea
another
would rather
problem.
sign players like Liam Delap and hope that they can help them bridge the gap. But I think if you go and sign Liam Delap, to believe Chelsea have a chance of winning the Premier League next season off the back of signing players of a similar ilk of Liam Delap, I then think you're really stretching and reaching.
Well, but there's one factor. You're going to be bringing in the Brazilian kid, and if he is the second coming of Neymar, then you definitely are going to have a good chance of being a very competitive side and having that balance on the left-hand side. And your whole team will look a lot more balanced if you have that dangerous winger who can score, assist, create, and you can just give the ball to. Because if you're saying that's what the kid looks like, and he's like a young version of Neymar, and everyone's saying how good he is, when he comes to the Premier League, obviously the physicality is going to be difficult, but overall, he should still be able to impact you guys quite well in the league.
I haven't watched enough of this kid to be able to game changer.
If we talk about realistic signings for Chelsea in the summer, they go and sign Kobel from Dortmund in goal. They sign Delap up top, and they potentially sign, I don't know, they get Esteval and maybe like
you have to sign someone to replace Josbury Hall. That's what he said. He said
they have.
Yeah, they said that Josbury Hall might be up for sale. Exactly.
Okay. And one other, Santos comes back, and one other player. Even though, by the way, if they believe Lavia is going to stay fit, I think it becomes an incredibly difficult conversation to have with Santos, because I don't see enough game time for a player that's done what he's done currently at Strasbourg. If they believe and plan around Lavia being fit, huh?
How much are you selling Santos for?
I have no idea, Egal. But can you imagine having that conversation with him off the back of doing what he's doing at Strasbourg right now and say, look, you're going to be the 4th choice centre midfielder?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very easy conversation to have.
50 million.
And also, Yusego's coming in as well, another youngster that we've signed.
When will it end?
You're selling some of these youngsters, though. That's the
100%. That he will turn around and say, I'm not going to sit there unless he really wants to prove it. He's left Chelsea, done all this, and what has he done? Moved 2 places up the pecking order, because he's not going to get in ahead of Caicedo, who's just won player of the season, and he's not going to get in ahead of Lavia.
Captain.
He's absolutely loved, by the way. And Enzo Fernandez is the captain. I'm not.
And Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer is the midfielder now.
Where is he getting in?
No, but you know what? Enzo has been really good. Fair play to him.
He has.
I don't think a lot of people were getting onto him so much because of his price tag that he's almost become underrated based on his performances.
Yeah, but people were saying, oh no, it's a Champions League squad. In any team, by the way, this is the same conversation we've already had, but regarding Chelsea and having too many players. Yes, Lavia might always be injured, but just you have to understand you're managing these players. If you say to Enzo Fernandez, oh, by the way, you're not going to be playing in the Champions League, how do you think he's going to react to that? How do you think Caicedo would be?
He's going to go to Barcelona.
You're not going to play in the
Champions League. You're going to need a squad.
Okay, I'll go Real Madrid then, because my name's being thrown around with Real Madrid every week at the moment.
You know what? If you sold Enzo tomorrow and you got your money back, that would be good business.
I agree. I do agree with that guy as well.
Really?
Yeah, because I think we paid so much for a player that, although has been good, and I do think he's been good, I just think I always will think that there are other leagues he'll be more suited to than the Premier League.
He's a luxury player. If your team is not ticking well, he's a luxury player. When your team is ticking well, he's
I don't know if he's luxury again, because I don't think he's quite as exquisite as a luxury player needs to be. I think someone like João Felix is more of a luxury player. I think there's a bit more industry that comes with Enzo. I just think I don't know if he's ever quite going to be the player that Chelsea thought he was going to be.
I don't think he can move your team forward if you don't have the defensive cover around him to make him work. So that's why I say
look at him yesterday when Caicedo and Lavia when Caicedo was inverted. He looked very good, and also he contributed defensively yesterday. By the way, I think Enzo Fernandez can be a good player for Chelsea. Can be one of the most important pieces if the right plan, if the right system is around him. I think it can work for him. I'm just not sure that Maresca will be able to challenge with Chelsea when they need to. That is my point. I just have to think that. Imagine if this Chelsea team has Hansi Flick. Imagine if Chelsea didn't turn their nose up on Hansi Flick.
I mean, he's not.
Hansi Flick in this team
I
is
just
still
wanted
not
to
winning.
imagine.
Hansi Flick with this team is still not winning. They don't have the defensive shape. They don't have the defenders to play on a high line at all. All their defensive line would be out of shape in 2 minutes. Like into a game.
He coaches defensive line. Have you watched Barcelona against Inter?
I get that, but
the place, bro.
I don't rate the Chelsea defenders at all. To say
I don't rate the Barcelona defense. I've watched them. I think they are good on the ball. I don't think Hansi Flick has this way of playing football is that he gambles going forward and he gambles with the high line, and because he coaches his team very well.
Sounds like Ange.
Yeah, the Sassy coming back next year from Villa.
Yeah, but he's much better coach. He talks a lot about. a much better coach than Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah,
that the
but like
gamble
that,
is
if they get Pep
calculated.
Guardiola in, if they get Pep Guardiola in, they'll be a much better
calculated.
team. Do you know what I mean?
It's
Like, you
calculated.
need to be realistic about who's going to come into them. I think Maresca has had an up and down season. I think he's had a really good start, a little bit of a struggling. But like the thing is with Chelsea, Newcastle, Forest, that bracket are competing for the Champions League, they're going to be inconsistent because that's why they are where they are. Do you know what I mean? So if he does get Champions League this season, then I think that's exactly what the board would have wanted. And if they bring in a few more players, they'll have more money, then I think they'll be exactly where they need to be at that moment.
Yeah, I want to move on a little bit from Chelsea just for the last part of the show to talk about the conversation that have happened over the last 48 hours since Arsenal have lost to Bournemouth. And of course, the Mal Gorbridge calling Dan Potts impatience and Dan Potts responding to him and all the stuff that has been said. And do you think, guys, it's the right time to talk about this after the Bournemouth game when you have the PSG game when you're only 1-0 down before Wednesday and all the pressure that people want to put on Arteta now, today?
Okay. I've really been triggered by this, but I'll explain it to you guys in a rational league way. Simply put, the football culture has changed. Everything is about outrage, and it's not really about rational conversations after a game. So the outrage is the reaction to a team that's not won a trophy in 20 years. The outrage is to a team that hasn't won a trophy since Arteta's first year. The outrage is to a team that was fully strength pretty much going into a game that did not matter as much. And if we were to have rotated the side heavily and lost, maybe there would be more people understanding. But the fact that we played pretty much a full strength team that similar to what we expect versus PSG and lose, that's where the majority of the outrage comes from. Now, I get people mad at Arteta because they don't rate him. I get people that are mad at the situation that we find ourselves in, being so close and not winning multiple years in a row. But right now, all our eggs are in the Champions League basket. And if we were to win this game, lose this game, draw this game, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make a massive change to our hopes of trying to win something that's already been decided, and it's Liverpool's. So I do think there needs to be some people to calm down. But the patience, I've told Dan to his face, Arteta's not going nowhere. What's the point of yelling and shouting, sack him tonight, or get rid of him at the end of the season, or get rid of him on Wednesday? You're almost getting angry about something that hasn't happened yet. Wait until Wednesday. If we get knocked out, then you can say, yo, exactly, you're justified to say whatever you want to say. If we get through, then you've just got wasted and raised your blood pressure for no reason on a Saturday, and when we could be going to a Champions League final on Wednesday.
Do any of you know Harry Semu? Is that his name? He's on Talk.
Yeah, I know Harry. Yeah, I know Harry.
Yeah. He actually did a good video there recently. He was talking about because he was talking about Arsenal fans, and he was saying how it wasn't just Arsenal fans, but it was more football fans in general.
I actually bookmarked this video yesterday, and I was gonna play it on this show. But
yeah, it's good. But basically, he taught, if Mo, you show, but he basically just talks about how everything now, as you said, Egal, is about rage. And what football fans will do is they'll say, say 10 crazy statements, and if they get 2 right, they'll be like, see, I told you I was right. Do you know what I mean? Whereas they won't say anything about the 8 that they got wrong. And that's like a kind of a big issue. I think you see it more in like Arsenal fans than most, because like I think a lot of stuff is very polarized on social media. And obviously the success, and like say with Arteta, it's an easy kind of thing to say, but he talks very well about it. It was very good, a very interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, well, by the way, it's all well and good making those statements, and I don't actually have an issue with people sort of going either one way or the other. But I think if you get it wrong, you have to come out and stand up and say, look, I did make those statements, but I was wrong, and they proved me to have a different thought process, and it worked out. And I think that's where people just need to take a bit more accountability if they do make statements and predictions.
But then it's easier to predict your team's going to fail.
Yeah. No, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think you have to sort of judge what's going to happen, because
no, but hear me out. The reason why I say it's easier is because you give it long enough time that manager's either going to resign or get sacked. You give it long enough time that players either going to be burnt out, finished, or the thing. Some people waited until Cristiano Ronaldo was 40 to say, "I told you he was never that good on the ball." And so,
but that's an opinion that's an opinion that doesn't hold weight.
People wait long enough.
Opinion that doesn't
people
hold
wait long
weight
enough
now
for
and
their
isn't
opinion to
respected,
marinate. People wait long enough for their opinion to marinate for it to be true, and they won't.
Yeah.
necessarily buckle after 2 games, 10 games, half a season. Right now, do you think there's Chelsea fans who are saying Enzo's having a good year and he's a good signing? No, they're still going to call him a bust because they're so mad about the signing for the first season. And it's just that's how
I think Enzo Fernandez is the type of player that you can completely sort of change your opinion on because of the evidence that he's given to change that. You know, he's gone from being drastically bad. Sorry, were you talking about Maresca? One of the two, right?
No, whichever one.
No.
People are not going to change their opinion.
They've both got incredibly varying up and down spells throughout their career and time at Chelsea. And I think they've both given you evidence to sort of be able to sort of change your opinion on those performances throughout their time, because there's been ups and downs and changes in what they've done and improvements that they've made.
But you know something? The only way people are going to change their opinion on certain people is if they go and do something that they did not expect them to do. And Arteta to challenge for the league, people did not expect that. Some people changed their opinion on Arteta. But until we win it, or win a league or a Champions League, the likes of Liga on the North side, they're never going to change their opinion. Till this day, they'll say they're right.
With the Arteta thing as well, like what people would have said before is that like he's a championship manager. He'll never get us back to competing with the top teams in England. And then once he gets them there, that's irrelevant. It's okay, we're here now. He'll never get us to win trophies, which obviously is yet to be changed.
He's won an FA Cup though.
I know, but like if you're talking about like what people are going to basically measure him against is Premier League and Champions League. That's what they're basically saying. So like, they haven't won a Premier League in 20 years, and they just haven't won a Champions League before. So like it's a big ask to say go and win a Premier League or a Champions League. Do you know what I mean? For any Arsenal manager to come in right now, and because there's obviously been a lot of like disarray in terms of where he is during the kind of Invincibles reign, there's been a lot of confusion around the club to kind of get back to that level. But Arteta's got you there, which hasn't happened for a long time. I think he does deserve that chance to go on and try and change it.
You have a lot of Liverpool fans saying they were wrong about Szoboszlai, even though they're getting onto him like crazy throughout the whole season. You don't really see too many apologies for Szoboszlai.
Exactly. Even Klopp, when Klopp came in
yesterday, didn't he? People on social media, they're
trolls. Yeah. But like Klopp came in to Liverpool, right? He had lost, I think it was five finals in a row, and everyone was calling him a bottler, even though he had won like 2 leagues and a German Cup in Germany. He comes in, he loses his first, I think it was 3 finals at Liverpool, or 4 maybe, and then he wins the Champions League. Everyone just forgets about it and says whatever. Then he goes on and he wins 1 Premier League in, like, say, the 8 years he was there, and everyone says, oh, he should have done better with the squad. Do you know what I mean? It's an ever-changing scale to what
apparently Harry Kane turned like world class last night.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I
mean? About this, watch. This is the video. I actually just downloaded the video. Listen to this. It's great, actually. It's a fantastic video.
It feels to me like there's a lot of content creators that start off doing it and loving the club, right? Because they come from a position where they're fans. And I would argue that even when they do go in the direction that I'm about to describe, they do still love the club, because you can't switch that off. If you've grown up supporting the club, you can't switch it off. But there comes a point where their egos, right, dictate that being proven right is more important than the success of the football club. And they will tell you, no, I'm demanding the highest standards. I'm demanding the very, very best. But that's because they don't realize that their ego is completely taken over. They want to be able to hit the record button, hit the go live button, whatever it might be, and tell you that they were right. It's like an addiction. And for a lot of these people, it's what fuels them. It's what drives them. It's why they make outrageous comments and outrageous predictions. Because if you make 10 outrageous predictions and even 2 or 3 of them come off, you can point to them and say, that was me thinking outside the box. I'm a genius. And your ego doesn't allow you to remember the ones that you got horribly and completely wrong. I'll give you a great example, right? There are a lot of content creators out there that say, if Mikel Arteta doesn't win the Champions League this season, he should be sacked. The same people 3 years ago would have told you that Mikel Arteta was a championship standard manager and would never get this club anywhere further than 8th in the league. Now, their ego tells them that the fact that he hasn't won one of the major trophies, the Premier League or the Champions League, means that they're right. But it completely ignores the fact that they also told you that this guy wasn't going to get us past 8th. So he's already proven them wrong. They are already wrong. They've already been wrong. And I'm not having a go at people for being wrong. We're all wrong at times. But people that overblow their successful predictions and ignore the bad ones, that's because their ego's doing that. Their ego's got in the way.
He's played it well. I've seen someone say there, who cares about content creators? But like, it's not about content creators. It's about even like
it's about the
pundits,
message
you know what I
from
mean?
the fans.
And by the
Even,
way,
if
it
you
goes
talk
both
about like Rio
ways.
Ferdinand or like anyone like that, like it doesn't matter who it is. It's about taking accountability for what you said. And if you said that Arteta was never going to get Arsenal to where they are now, and now you're saying, okay, the goalposts have changed, is that he's never going to get us to win a Premier League or Champions League. Well, then you've just been proven wrong, and now you're just changing it to fit your own narrative. And as well, I think as well, for content creators, it's a little bit different, because if you get to a stage where you're doing it on a regular basis and you're making money out of it, the whole idea for you is to make as much money as possible. So what is going to get you money and views is to make the most outrageous takes you can and then profit off that.
It goes both ways. So Sharky on SDS, just literally on the episode after the day that Liverpool won the league, he literally said, I would rather be Arsenal than Liverpool now, because I think we're going to win more than Liverpool. It goes both ways. That also is an outrageous take. At that time, it is an outrageous take. It's something that you shouldn't be saying as a content creator, especially with hundreds of thousands of followers, because a lot of people follow this trend and think that, yeah, Sharky said that. He's correct. He's right. I'm going to follow that trend. It goes both ways, as we cannot just sit and have as I say, a rational conversation about are Arsenal failing? Why they failed this season? What is good for them next season? Is Arteta a good manager or a bad manager? No, he's rubbish, or he's the greatest manager in the world. This is not like a conversation. He's a rubbish or the best manager in the world is not a conversation. We can sit and debate things and come up with conclusions or learn from each other, apart from just saying outrageous takes. And I agree with Harry here. He said it very well. Like, you can't change your opinion. We're all wrong at sometimes. Change our opinions about players, about managers, about things. I changed my opinion about Inzaghi, for example. When he came to the league, he took over a team of Inter that won the league with Conte. Yes, we got rid of the two most important players. He bottled the league to Milan. Next season, Napoli won the league. And I said, he's not good enough to coach Inter because we want to win the league. I just lagged, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, you're good. You're good.
No, you're good.
All right.
You're good.
Okay, so my actually screen is just frozen, by the way. But anyway, long story short, and at the end, he reached the Champions League final and he lost to Man City and he put in a very good performance. I said, I'll give him another year. I will wait for him again. We did win the league the year after.
Yeah. There's a difference, though. There's a difference. When comparing Arsenal to other clubs, you guys got to factor the fact that we haven't won a major honor. And when I say major, I mean 2 of the big ones in 20 plus years. So that is the major issue. Arteta, Arsenal fans have had patience. I've had patience, and I still have patience because I don't think the team is complete yet. But we don't necessarily need a complete team to win the league. But we do need some things to go our way. And we also do need some of these guys to be on form and not get injured. And this season, with the injuries, with the issues that we've had, and I'm not looking at this team and saying the manager is the major issue, where some people seem to blind themselves and say, you know what, we need a striker, we need this, we need so many players, we need a rebuild, but in the same breath say the manager is not good enough for winning us a trophy. I think it's contradictory, and that's my main issue with a lot of the
you're
people.
closer, Egal, than you have been for the last 20 years to potentially winning one of those 2 trophies, and Arteta is a huge reason that you're there, as well as some very, very good players that your club's developed and bought in. So I find it ludicrous that some of these guys are coming with the same sort of expectations and standards of clubs that have been winning way more regularly. And I think that's where people sort of get lost. And I have to understand that some clubs should have different expectations to others because of what history suggests and other
the situation
come into it. Yeah.
You know the counter argument is? The counter argument is, well, Arsene Wenger had Arsenal in the Champions League spots. Arsene Wenger had Arsenal winning FA Cups year in, year out.
But not towards the end, he didn't. Like, maybe the FA Cups, yeah, but not in the top 4. Like, you were out of the top 4 for a little bit towards the end of Arsenal.
I had an argument with somebody who said to me they value the FA Cup and the Champions League same level.
Well, that's delusional. That's coping.
And they're basically saying, I would rather the seasons where we're in fourth, winning FA Cups, then coming in second and not winning anything every year.
Yeah, that's a bit more debatable.
I can hear that. That one's debatable. I could hear that because there's something to be said about, achieving a trophy at the end of the season or silverware to put in the cabinet.
They would rather be in the Europa League, winning that and coming in third in the league or something than they would rather right now switch positions with Tottenham and be in the Europa League final.
No, see, that's too far, isn't it? That's too far the other way. That you can't be happy being where you are in the league. The most important game in the reason all these teams are here, the reason fans turn up every week is for the league. And you can't be happy with your team being...
You know what it is? The main argument they're having is if we don't win anything at the end of the season, the team is shit. That's basically what they're saying.
But the team is not shit.
They don't care about progression. They don't care about progression. They don't care about anything else. They're basically like, if you don't win trophies, everything else is meaningless.
There's a bit in between, though. It's like, it's progression to a certain point. Do you know what I mean? You can continue to progress, but and what Arteta has done is built on the progression to get you to this stage. And the other side of it is you need to take the next step. Do you know what I mean? And it's not even like other fans slagging Arsenal fans. It's more Arsenal fans as a club want to take that next step and want to win a big trophy. So there is a different, there is a line between the two that is very close. But I think this season, has been disappointing in terms of the league. The Champions League is where it's all going to be at. But even second last season, the year before, is going to be better than second this season because of how it's materialized, if that makes sense. But I think next season, if he doesn't win a trophy, a Premier League or a Champions League, I think...
Can I ask you something? Would you rather have Arsenal, Jamie, second this season or third this season, reach a Champions League final and not winning it, or get knocked out last season at the quarterfinal and be second and challenge for the last day? Which one do you think is a better season?
This season, I think.
Fans would rather the league.
No, I think this season. I think Madrid. I think the Madrid game.
I think you misunderstood the question. Would you rather have Arsenal season last season and get knocked out of all the cups and get knocked out by a Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal, or drop off a little bit in the league this season, be second or third, but reach the final, put in a good performance, and actually have the journey of the Champions League? Which one do you think is better for the fans?
If we don't win the final, then last year was better. If we win the final, then this year would be better.
I think the Madrid game alone would make this season better.
I kind of agree with what Jamie's saying. I think that's such a massive game that kind of announced Arsenal as a club that are here right now to challenge with the very
Imagine
best
again, then, if they win against PSG, come back and reach the final and lose. Lose 1-0, lose on penalties, whatever.
Apart from this very recent spell towards the end of the season in the Prem, which I think sort of surprised me. It's almost like they're taking their foot off the gas as soon as they knew they weren't going to win the league, which is understandable. Yeah. But also, I think that's what they'll learn, that the best clubs don't do that until they've got something in the locker. I think Arsenal fans would have rather seen their team still putting up results in the Premier League to give them more hope going into this. Because if Arsenal had gone into this PSG game flying in the league, they probably still believe they've got a chance at 1-0 down, whereas I feel like it feels a bit deflated. So I think massively beating Real Madrid, for me, with the injury hit season that you've had and the stop-start sort of nature of it, I think it shows that your team at fully fit level and with all the players firing can contend with the best in Europe.
Yeah, I just think the game against Madrid, that will be remembered for and obviously you want to go on and win it, and I think that will be big because it'll be remembered even more. But even at that point, I know people will say it's a poor Madrid team, but they won the Champions League the year before and then signed one of the best players in the world. You know what I mean? It's not that bad of a Madrid team in the context of Madrid teams maybe in the past. But I would prefer this season. I think they're still in with a shout. First semi-final in Champions League in 16 years as well. It looks like they're probably going to get second. Maybe Man City might pip them, depending on how things go. But I don't know. I think this season, just for that Madrid performance alone, would maybe edge towards that.
For me,
you're still not winning the Premier League. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
But I think for me, it will be this season, the journey, the amount of joy that the fans felt going to win against Madrid, winning against PSG, going in the final. Yes, you have had a lot of disappointments in the league, but you're still second or third. I know that there is momentum going to next season, but I think that Arsenal, if they reach the final, they will take momentum to next season. Inter did it, by the way. Inter did it. And it happens. It happens when
Bro,
you go.
you know what? I'll tell you something. My fan base is not mentally stable. We're not, because we've not
Stating
won.
the obvious.
Because we've not won. Because we've not won in many years. Say whatever you want. There's people who are in the middle, like the Lulu Gunner. There's people who are like Lee Gunner, who want to rip down everything and start again from scratch. There's people like Money Penny who believe Arteta's okay and everything's okay and nobody should go anywhere and we're going to go again next season. We're going to win and we're going to dominate. And I believe that too, to a certain degree. But I just feel like one result, one performance can change everything. And if we do lose on Wednesday, there's going to be people who've backed Arteta to the hill who are just going to flip like that. And if we win on Wednesday, there's going to be people who are so close to saying they want him sacked, flipping like that. And one result, one performance, one game can dictate everything for how they feel about this entire season. And it's really down to that.
Can I ask one kind of if or the other question as well? So which would be bigger, Spurs or Arsenal? Or sorry, Spurs or United winning the Europa League and getting Champions League and finishing, 16th, 17th? And Arsenal finishing second and missing out on the Champions League. Which would be a better season? Because there was some debate about this online that I seen. Which ones do you think?
They both, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, as a football fan in general, I don't want to get my team battered every single week. So that we've had a better season. They've been more successful. They won a trophy. But we've had the better season because as a football fan, yes, you finished the season with a trophy, but let's be honest, it's cope. Both Man United and Spurs fans at the end of the season will tell you they've been watching their team get slapped around all year. And
I would say it's less enjoyable for a United and Spurs fan, but a better season, if that makes sense. Because
can I tell you why
the
that's
trophy
not true,
and they still getting the same result and they're getting a trophy for it.
Yeah, but can I tell you
Troy
why that's not
Troy
true?
has part to do with better. Arsenal have been better. They've been more successful. Simple.
Yeah, can I tell you one thing? Who do you think will be more worried in the summer if Man United win Europa League and Arsenal don't win anything? Who do you think will be more worried, anxious as a club, as fans, going into next season?
Man United.
So how is the team that is more successful is more anxious and worried than the team that is less successful? That doesn't add up, does it?
Because they realised that their fortune of getting into the Champions League was completely a luck. It was just pure luck on the performances they put together. They know they're going to be out of their depth going into that competition unless they spend.
But that's the whole point. That's the whole point. So how is they won the trophy? Because this is why I always said I only judge success for teams, and that's just me, based on winning your league or the Champions League. Anything else, and Man United is the living proof that should be the case. Because Man United have won the FA Cup and then they went on having one of the worst seasons ever, right? For this club. You can't tell me that was a successful team last season and now they're going into the season. Winning the cup.
One thing I would say that.
How about this?
I want to add something. Winning the cup or winning the Europa League while you're still competing for the league, being third, second, fourth, yes, that is success. But winning the cup while being 15th or winning the Europa League while being 15th, winning Conference League, for example, like West Ham while being 17th, but West Ham is different. For a club like the size of Man United, does not make you successful. If Man United from here on, for the next 10 years, guys, win every single cup double for 10 years, but come 15th every year, is that a successful period for the football club? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's not a successful period for the football club. Winning a cup double.
I suppose it's more a case of like similar to what we were saying about Arsenal, right? The standards nowadays is it's nice to get a cup. It's in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, or Europa League. But the kind of main goal standards that we all talk about as fans, whether it's right or wrong, is that it's the Premier League or the Champions League. So for a team the size of, say, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, what you're all kind of judged on is if you win a Premier League or a Champions League, and then the others are kind of just added bonuses. So I would agree that if they win the cup double, it's not that they are successful in terms of trophies, but like in terms of they're finishing 16 and 17, that's not good enough for a club the size of Manchester United.
100%.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Don't you find it mad how this season that Manchester City could potentially finish above Arsenal with that huge dip in form that they had? And I mean, Chelsea have had an incredibly top-turvy season and a roller coaster of a ride and had a really, really poor sort of 3-4
It does help.
months.
It does help when you sign 200 million.
No, but I'm just saying it's incredible to me that I think the Premier League this season has actually really lacked a lot of quality and a lot of consistency. And that's not to take anything away from Liverpool, because I actually think they're one of the only teams that have been able to be at a level of that elite level that gets you titles and that. And I think they've been good enough, and they've only lost 3 so far all this season. I just think the rest of it, though, the fact that those two teams in Manchester City and Chelsea can have such a fall off, and even Newcastle have such a bad start, now be in the conversation of finishing, one of those teams could potentially finish 3rd, 2nd. I think that's crazy. It just doesn't happen in most Premier League seasons.
But why can't you think about Arsenal also giving up?
Yeah,
Why
as well.
it's always-
That's another point.
why-
I mean, that baffles me.
And do you know from game week? Do you know for the last 11 game weeks what is Arsenal for?
Low.
Draws.
8.
Yeah, but like
For me, people talk about Chelsea having a fall off and Man City having a fall off, but they never talk about Arsenal giving up and having a fall off. And giving up
I
on
think
the
that's
league.
different. That's different.
That's
They've known
why
the
it's
league is
different.
gone.
Why
They've
it's
known the
different.
league is gone for so long.
Exactly.
Chelsea are competing for like the Champions League. Like that's a huge thing for them to try and get into next season. Whereas Arsenal have just been solely focused on the Premier League. So like they're not putting 100% effort in. Yeah, maybe they should have done better in some of the games. Like you think of some of the draws and stuff. Maybe the Bournemouth result, but at the end of the day, like they've just taken their eye off the ball. And when you take your eye off the ball in the Premier League, you do slip up, and that's what we've seen. But at the end of the day, the whole point was to go on and win the Champions League. So if they don't do that, then that's going to be a big issue.
People just forget that Arsenal gave up, as Jamie said. It's people talk about.
Seriously, right? If Arsenal do fail to win the Champions League and they end the season in this sort of form, going into next season, I think that is the most.
It will affect them.
They sign. That will be the
I
most.
don't think that's necessarily true, because if I'm not mistaken, Liverpool ended the season last year quite poor. Did it affect them this year?
Yeah, but the manager was changing Egal. So if you listen to my whole point, I think
It's a completely new thing.
The personnel didn't change.
Pardon?
Just the manager, right?
But you know that Liverpool.
My whole point was that will be incredibly the most incredibly difficult start for Arteta as Arsenal's manager in the time that he's been there. If they fail to win the Champions League and have this fall off at the end of the season.
Are you forgetting we were 20th in the league after 3 games with 0 goals and 9 goals conceded? That is extremely difficult start to the season when at that point everyone was saying Arteta should be sacked. We've yet to sign Martin Odegaard, yet to sign Aaron Ramsdale, yet to sign some of these players. We've been in worse situations.
Yeah, you have, but he hadn't shown the level that he'd got Arsenal to. Now people are at the point where they've seen how good Arsenal can be.
The Real Madrid game was better than what we did last year.
I think. Well, hang on, Egal. Just let me finish my point, and then that's what we do here on this show. We finish each other's points off first, and then we reply. Right? So what I'm saying is that he's already shown how close he can get Arsenal. If next season, at any point, off the back of this form that you're going into next season on, that's where he'll be questioned massively now. He will be, because they'll say, look, we got this close. We've beaten Real Madrid. If Arteta finishes the season off in this form, is he good enough? Is he the right person? People will be in a position to ask that question if it really sort of fades out this season and you fail against PSG during the week.
I think the main reason in why we've dropped off is because we've kind of taken our foot off the gas, and it has nothing to do with the players just dropping in form based on inability or incapability of performing. It's really down to preservation in the league and trying to focus solely on the Champions League. Now, if we go and beat PSG, that'll show you exactly what I mean. As in that game versus Bournemouth, some of those guys look like in the second half they just were trying to not get injured, and maybe we should have rotated the team a lot more.
But can I tell you guys something? I think Dan is right. If they get knocked out of PSG, Dan. If they beat PSG, that's a comeback that will be remembered along with the Real Madrid win. Yeah. And even if they lose the final, they will have momentum, right? What? If they go to PSG, to Paris on Wednesday and lose by like 2+ goal margins, people will forget about the Real Madrid a little bit, and they will remember that you lost at home, you lost away, you dropped points against Bournemouth, you lost against Bournemouth in the winning position. Wow, that Real Madrid win was just a fluke because Real Madrid were bad. And I think that will affect them next season. I think that will, because the same players will remember the failure that happened this season. if you look at Arsenal and you look at how they play and they beat PSG and how they take momentum of this at the final, even if they lose, I think that will losing a final will galvanize them. Losing a semi-final, when everyone said that you're going to go through, I think that will they will take a little bit of a hit in terms of like confidence, momentum. So that is one game affect you. Inter with the same. When we lost the final against Man City, it changed our perspective of the season. We started the season after on fire. We ate everyone alive, right? And I believe that if we lost the semi-final, quarter-final, that changes the momentum. This is why Arsenal, in my opinion, that PSG game is a must-win for Arsenal, in my opinion. Because
yeah, but it's must win regardless. You know what I mean? It's semi-final of a Champions League. They have to win it in regardless of anything. So, like, but even if they get to the final, if they beat PSG and they get to the final, they can lose the last 3 games. Nobody's going to care. Do you know what I mean? They can lose the last 3, and then it's all eyes on the final.
It is incredibly PSG, it's a pendulum, isn't it? It's either going to go one or the other, and it will be drastic either way. I think that's like
but it's such weird. The joy of football. Like,
but my problem is a lot. My problem is a lot of people now are talking about Arsenal as it's now the PSG game is like what makes your mind up about Arteta. But you should have made up your mind over 5 years. Is he a good enough manager or not? You get my point? Like, you cannot just take one game and make up your mind about the guy. You know what I mean? You can make your mind up about him playing against Real Madrid, going against them, reaching the Champions League. But you cannot just, if he doesn't win, which is what Dan Pot said is win. But Dan Pot has his opinion about, I won the trophy, basically. I won the trophy. That's all about what he wants. But listen, against PSG, I still think that Arsenal can go through. I don't think that Arsenal are just, people are ruling out Arsenal comeback. Thomas Partey is going to be back.
100% still in it. 100% still in it.
Oh, it's way, and especially with PSG's record, by the way. Although they have been they've been better in recent years. They're not exactly renowned for keeping their heads in moments like this, are they? They've definitely struggled at times when the pressure's been there for them.
So has Arsenal. That's the problem.
Yeah, true, but I think Arsenal haven't been there as much as PSG have, so it's still quite like new for this group of Arsenal players. But and even for this young PSG side, but there's still players there that have been in big games, and that feeling around the club is that they've bottled some of their biggest moments in Europe in recent years.
Yeah, big up the people that joined from Said TV. Let me just say this: big up the people that joined from Said TV. Make sure to hit that like button. Big up Said. You hate Inter, Said. You want Inter to lose just because of me. Right, because you think I hate your club. While Barcelona schooled you in 2 finals in 2009 and 2012, you should be hating them way more than Inter, because we didn't do anything to you on your way to the trophy back in the days. You won against Inter, so you shouldn't be hating on Inter. So hit that like button, people. Big upside. Thanks. Sorry. Thank you again. But
I just think it's very simple when it comes to this upcoming game. The mentality, all those things, I hear it. I hear people saying we've not done it before, but both teams really haven't done it. Neither team has won the Champions League. It comes down to who is going to have the better game plan, and can Arteta find a game plan that can get us ahead and where we can hold on to a lead. Because if PSG score first, it could be night. Like,
yeah.
Egal, is that the most frustrating thing for you as an Arsenal fan with the way Arteta's been? Is that he can have moments like he did against Real Madrid and put together 2 really, really solid game plans that ultimately get you through that tie almost with ease, and then he goes into the PSG game and it's like he just kind of got it all a bit wrong in that moment. Is that where you find a bit of frustration with him? Is that why there's sort of such a dramatic swing either way?
I think Arteta coached a good game. Let's be honest. We could have still won that game. We could have still won the game. We could have still won the game. It was small margins. They were extremely clinical with the goal that they scored. They had other chances where they could have buried us. They didn't take their chances, and we had chances where we could have won the game also. Really and truly.
I just feel okay. I hear that, by the way. You definitely did have chances, but I just feel like there was part of me that was looking at Arteta, thinking you've not set this up. Or you haven't read this game as well as you read Real Madrid and what they were going to do. Maybe that means PSG were a little bit less predictable and the quality that was there in that goal. But that goal was almost identical to one that they'd scored in one of the previous rounds. I can't remember who it was against, but Liverpool, I think, actually. They literally played the ball out wide. The run comes from deep. They cut it back. They scored. And it just, for me, I just think Arteta didn't get that right. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans questioned it. And then they looked at his changes, and his changes weren't exactly the changes that needed to come in the moment that it did. And they were a bit late.
We had no Partey. It was really.
I know you had no Partey, and I think Partey's been really, really instrumental for Arsenal when he's played in the right position this season. But for me, I feel like that's where people sort of question Arteta a little bit, is that it's moments like that he's just got it wrong in such an important moment. It's the time where you can't get it wrong. You've got to get it right.
I'm looking at the players defensively in that situation, saying they've gotten it wrong. I'm not looking at Arteta solely in that situation, because that goal was very avoidable. Saka could have moved over. Moreno could have moved over. Odegaard could have tracked back.
So, Egal, I believe that you're right there, that those players could have done that. But I don't believe Arteta was aware of a reoccurring pattern that had cropped up a number of times. Now, you can either blame Arteta for maybe not focusing on that, or the analysts for not picking it up. But I believe that it would have been now, with the help of AI, pick up a lot of patterns. That is a pattern that has been reoccurring under Luis Enrique a number of times, and it wasn't picked up. And I just think that in that early on stage in the game, unless the players weren't fully up for it and hadn't started at the level that they should have done, that's something that's inexcusable for me, that the manager should have had that set up. That goal is avoidable, as you say, and either the players weren't at it, which is kind of on the manager to make sure that they are as soon as the game starts, or they weren't prepared for that moment to happen when it's a pattern that's been repeating itself.
It is on him. It is on him. Then 100%. Some of the players look like they didn't want to be on that pitch.
The TiVo was putting them off.
That was shocking, by the way. Because Rory was talking about it, wasn't he, on the show? And he said they've taken down the TiVo. That was really cool. And then you just see that one. Honestly, that was.
That's what I mean, though. They got a lot of heat, but I think, in fairness, the Arsenal fans had planned a big TiVo, and the club rejected it.
That's what Rory was saying. They had
so it wasn't on the fans, to be fair.
No,
they rejected it because they felt like it was too associated.
It had political, not agenda around it, but controversy, didn't it? So they sort of said, "Look, we can't."
It was associated. It was like the money heist thing.
Exactly right, which is around law breaking, which is incredibly risky when you've got hundreds of £1 million on the line with sponsors. I can see why clubs would be a little bit apprehensive around that, but just go completely the other way and put up the one that they did, which looked like they could have just got that from the market 10 minutes before the game.
Literally printed it off.
They got it wrong.
Yeah, it's a flag. It's a flag from the kiosk outside the stadium that someone just
wrong, guys.
League owner made it for them.
Nobody gives a shit if we beat PSG about the curtain.
But you didn't.
No, I agree. It'll be a funny meme for a few years, but
But you know what, Egal, the team. Listen, I've been to stadiums in Europe. The tifo in these nights put some fear in the opposition. That's why people say when we're going to Dortmund, it's one of the toughest places to go, because you're already shaking when the fans are jumping up and down. There's the tifos there in the San Siro. By the way, between Inter and Milan, they actually raced to be in the first leg and the second leg who has the biggest tifo to scare the opposition. And the problem is the players went to the game, and it looked from the first minute the players were not ready for the game, and the manager didn't prepare well. Look how you started against Real Madrid versus how you started against PSG. It's completely opposite sides of the spectrum. A team that is ready to beat Real Madrid versus a team that is a little bit complacent, slow. Thomas Partey is not there. All the things that ran before the game, all the media talk about, can he replace Partey? The lineup, Moreno, the midfield. The team was not ready, and it was very obvious. And the club was not ready.
Well, Mo, that's a really great point. I think he did so. Obviously, he had injuries, but he did such a good job of getting Moreno into that position and making it work as a makeshift striker who's put up fantastic numbers. And also Declan Rice playing a little bit more advanced. I feel like he took that away from his team that was so key in getting results against Real Madrid. He took that out of his team against PSG. And I just think...
You talk about the tactical thing. That he could have played the same lineup, but pushed Moreno to support Trossard. You know what I mean? Changed. Yeah. But it looked like...
Lewis Skelly should play there, and that was his biggest concern, wasn't it, going into that game? And then actually it turned out that Rory was right. When Lewis Skelly moved into that area when he inverted, he was arguably one of Arsenal's most dangerous players.
You could have done that. The problem is he completely changed the way they played from the first game by Moreno not supporting the attack, dropping deep in the build. even if you're not going to put Lewis Kelly there, you could have had Moreno support Trossard, exchange between Trossard and Moreno. There are many things that happen in football. Like, it's not only about you being in the position, and also that the way they were about it. Moreno and Odegaard. You know, when the goal they scored, Moreno and Odegaard were 20 yards away from the edge of the 18 or 30 yards away. How is that acceptable in the first 5 minutes of the game? Why you're not compact? And even if you lose the ball, why you're not going back quickly as you normally do in all the other games? Did
Marino not get back by the time he connected with the ball?
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, I thought he did. No, he didn't.
No. He was 30 yards away. Odegaard was halfway line.
Yeah, Marino was like at the penalty spot. The guy was closer to the line.
Yeah,
Marino
that's what
was
I
way
mean.
behind them.
In terms
Marino was
of
way
where
behind
they
them.
were on the pitch vertically, they were level, but one was way closer to the corner flag than the other.
Declan Rice went to cover.
I'd need to see this again.
Okay,
But
so
I
Declan
thought
Rice went to
Marino
cover.
got back, but had completely missed Dembele's movement.
Basically, what happened is Declan Rice went to cover because Kvaratskhelia is tricky against, like, that's his job. Moreno and Odegaard were way far from the 18, that there was a lot of space left around the edge of the 18, and Dembele just kicked it in, and because there's nobody covering.
You want me to share the screen? Show you.
No, you can.
Be careful they don't get demonetized with a goal.
It's not going to be a
image.
Oh, image.
This
You
one.
see here,
Look
Saka.
at this. By the way,
Saka. Moreno, Trossard, Odegaard.
Moreno was on the right side. By the way, this is when Dembele is shooting it. When Dembele was standing and he was waiting for a bit for that ball because he passed the ball. Moreno and Odegaard are just behind. They're not covering that area. Look at how much space Dembele has. And anyway, it is absolutely. I don't think he was ready. Hopefully he's ready Wednesday, because I don't want PSG to go through, to be honest with you.
Should it be PSG at Barca final?
Inshallah, will be Inter versus whoever, and we're gonna win the Champions League. And you're muted, Dan. You muted yourself. You muted yourself.
I think you did really well against Barcelona, by the way.
We're not going to go there.
And you also had chances. I mean, you don't need to talk about Mkhitaryan's offside, which is incredibly close. But
he was, yeah. It was
offside. No.
We were robbed anyway, so hopefully.
Yeah, but I don't know if you were robbed, because I feel like there were moments where you weren't good enough at the same time to keep a result.
Of course.
But also, I was actually really sort of impressed with how well you started that game. And the fact you've come out level, I think that's really strong position going.
Very positive result for us, to be honest. But it was very poor by Inter. How do you defend the whole game and concede fucking 3 goals? I think that's shambolic, to be honest.
I think that's just how good Barca are in terms of, like, the Yamal goal is just unbelievable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, obviously, you did really well to score 3, but I think the same thing is going to happen in the second leg. I know it's obviously at home for you, but I think Barca will get like 2, maybe 3 goals. So you need to do that again, which is going to be a big ask.
I don't think they're going to get 3 goals. I don't think the 2 set pieces they scored, I don't think they're going to get 3 goals. They might score 1.
Enzo Dumfries for his performance.
He improved massively this season, and he improved massively. We have to admit that the guy, his decision making is better, movement is better. Players improve. I don't think it was good enough.
People think Dumfries plays like that every week, and people hate on him. Denzel Dumfries does not play like that every week.
I know
that isn't a consistent performance.
But this season he has improved massively.
He's definitely improved, right?
Yeah.
But
so he doesn't get 2 goals and an assist every week.
Yeah, no,
he doesn't. Of course he doesn't.
And also in terms of what he did on that right hand side, like he was dominating that area that he was in. He was really having a good game, but he doesn't play like that week in, week out, or hasn't done for like the last 3 seasons since people saw him in like the 2022 World Cup or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And people sort of think that he's hated on, but he doesn't play like that week in, week out.
Like, I'm just going to have to tell you, Rafinha, yes, he had an assist from a brilliant ball by Pedri, and he had a good shot. In the open play and how Rafinha played, he wasn't in the game as much. It was Lamine Yamal. Barcelona played on the right side the majority of the game, but I don't know. Like, listen, I can't take it.
DeMarco was incredibly concerning for me.
But I'm going to tell you what.
Did you see it?
That's what people don't know. That's what people don't know. Let me just say this, Jim. Because I watch my team every single game, right, for the last year, I know that DeMarco, people speak about him, magic left foot and everything. He is so weak defensively. Is so weak that Antonio Conte loaned him out, right? But because Inzaghi wants his wing back high on the pitch and he wants them, it's okay. DeMarco cannot play in a back four. He will get cooked every week defensively.
Yeah.
It
Don't
reminds me of
Trent-
Alonso in that Conte system.
Exactly. If
Yeah.
Trent can defend 5 out of 10, DeMarco can defend 10 out of 10. Like he's just, bro, he's cooked.
If you guys are PSG or Arsenal, who would you rather play in the final?
Wait, who are we?
Based
Again?
on what-
Arsenal, PSG.
Whichever one.
If it was Arsenal, I'd rather play Inter. If I was I'd rather play Inter than Barcelona, to be honest. I just think, like, in finals, goals like get you over the line. Do you know what I mean? And I just think Barcelona has so much attacking threat. Like Yamal as well. He basically helped carry Spain to like a Euro. So you know what I mean? Like win the Champions League, I feel like it's just the next step for him. And Rafinha is like potentially going to win a Ballon d'Or. I think Inter would be a really difficult team as well to play in the final, but I just think Barcelona.
I actually think I'd rather play Barcelona if I was Arsenal. Only because I think they have similarities to what Inter do, and in a one-off game, I'd hope we could win, like that. You could potentially get the job done 3-2 or something like that. Do you see what I mean? Like they got a draw. You could go. Arsenal could take that game to penalties, setting up similarly with set pieces. You know, nicking moments, obviously, to get themselves through the game. But you can win a Champions League like that, and I just wonder whether or not, if you went and played Inter, they'd be too good at your own game, whereas you actually sort of hit Barcelona in the weak areas like Inter did.
For me,
I would rather play.
I don't care.
Barca.
You'd rather play Barcelona again.
If it's an Arsenal-Barca
I think
final,
so.
you're going to get cooked. They are too good going forward. I know you'll obviously get chances against them,
Oh
but
my
like,
Yeah,
God.
but Jamie, they drew 3-3 with
what
Inter in a one-off game. That could go to pens, and then you might win penalties.
I really hope that Barcelona gets knocked out. So all this
Oh,
hype about
I'm
this
going to be
team
on your
just-
live stream
oh
tomorrow. I'm
my
going to be
God.
rattling
Oh,
you.
bro, like I can't live in a world with Barcelona win another Champions League, bro. Like, I can't live.
Yeah,
in
I
that
think
world.
to be fair, they're on 5. Are they on 5? I think they're on 5. If they get another one, then they're left.
Barcelona are okay. So this is Barcelona. Barcelona are on 0 Champions League. Ronaldinho's on 1. Messi on 4. That's all. Sorry, Messi on 3. Ronaldinho on 1. Barcelona on 1. That's all I know.
Who's it? Diego
what's
Milito
the
have one for
unreal?
you as well.
The unreal final, right, between like Barcelona and PSG. If that happens, both of those managers could be in a position where they're on for their second ever treble. So
Yes.
it could be like unbelievable for the two managers. Like whoever wins that game wins their second treble. Like, that's unbelievable.
The difference is, to be honest with you, I don't think the Luis Enrique's second treble will matter at all. Winning Ligue 1 and winning the cup in France, it's
Okay,
not
so who's
as
done if Flick does it, he's done it in Germany and Spain, and then obviously if Enrique does it, he does it with a young PSG team, and Barcelona, obviously they were already incredible. Whose is better?
Germany and Spain, of course.
I'd say
France and Spain, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Germany and Spain.
Probably fair. Yeah.
100%.
France is
Germany
just
and
like
Spain.
it's like even now it's like resting every single player he has because like they have the league wrapped up with 10 games to spare. They like nobody's
They lost
competing
to
with them, you know what I mean?
Strasbourg, actually. They lost to Liam Rossigna. Like he's doing a
But
really
they
good
changed
job.
11 players before they face Arsenal, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
They changed-
They played
They
10
changed
By the
11
way,
the
players.
exact same against Liverpool. Like a quarter or round of
Let's
16,
go.
and you're changing like your whole
That's where
team.
their
I know it.
question mark comes in, though, isn't it? Time and time again, they've been questioned around the quality of their league and whether or not they take their foot off the gas by the time the most important moments in the Champions League come up. And that's kind of where I feel like Arsenal doing that as well. I think you need to keep your foot on the gas. You're almost better off being in a title race a little bit if you can manage it to make sure that you just got that mentality and it's not slipping. And then you go into every game, it just feels like I've got to win, I've got to win, I've got to win. And it just sort of becomes non-stop.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes. But listen, people, can we get that guys? Let's get the subscribe button. Hit that like button if you're new here to the channel. This is Footy Judge Mo. Big up everyone that joined us from other chat, from Saeed as well. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. We're on 250 likes. We can get to 300 likes. Egal Talks Football in the description. Dan's channel in the description. The football story in the description, along with the OGs. Rory, of course, Tom Little, Staffy, they are on the description as well. I will see you guys tomorrow on a show in the morning, and then the watch along for Inter, and maybe before that we'll talk about Arsenal and PSG and all the stuff. There's a lot of content happening tomorrow from my side. I will see you guys later, and we are out of here, people. Don't forget to like the video, as Luke says, and we're out of here, people.